Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups Fayetteville. It's fantastic to have you here. We have a great presenter today. We have Mr. Andrew Weiss with PodFest Expo. He is going to come and talk a little bit about his business. Again, happy Wednesday and glad to have everybody. Andrew, it's all yours.
Sounds good. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Weiss, and today I'm going to talk about the organization I'm with, PodFest, and how we're working on making sure it is future-proof, being able to handle anything and be a source of community for people around the world. So a little background on me. I'm Andrew Weiss. I'm actually born and raised in Portland, Oregon. And so if there's any West Coasters in the room, definitely make yourself heard. Say hello in the chat. I'd love to see. Otherwise, no worries. That's okay. I'm also left-handed. So if any of the lefties in the room, representing 12% of the population here, apparently with our extra creativity. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and so I'm very fortunate at a young age to learn the importance of being a problem solver, understanding how to have your own freedom, understanding how to make sure that no matter what comes your way, you can overcome any obstacle. And I also have given over 1,000 presentations in 3 years, and definitely believe that if presentations should be given, they should be engaging and exciting and helpful. And as you see from that photo as well, even though I'm 6 feet tall, I'm actually the runt of my family. And so I always enjoy helping people feel heard, essentially. So I know what that's like, being the runt of the family at 6 feet tall. So back when I left my full-time job traveling and speaking, teaching professional entrepreneurship skills to youth out of college, I actually decided to start my own endeavor. And I decided to get into events. I did my own event called Fight the Fluff because I was so tired of speakers out there who were talking, but not actually saying anything. They'd give a presentation, but not actually give anything that was helpful. And because of that, I just created an event called Fight the Fluff. And the event was successful enough that one of the speakers actually introduced me to another guy named Chris Comitsos, who started PodFest Expo. And Chris has been doing several events over the years. He also has that same philosophy of wanting to have speakers who give great content to audience members, making sure it's a great community experience. And because of that, we actually broke a Guinness World Record together in August 2020 for world's largest virtual podcasting event, because he used to do all in-person events up to that point, but then what happened, and we decided to shift to virtual, and now we're going into hybrid. And so since 2020 of August, we've done 7 events together, and we're looking to continue serving our audience members. And so just a little quick brief history on PodFest itself. It actually started with just about 14 people in a small IHOP in Florida. And it was just a quick little workshop based on podcasting, the topic that no one actually knew anything about. And then just recently, because Joe Rogan got bought out by Spotify for $100 million, now it seems to be the talk everywhere all the time. And 2014, Chris actually was able to bring more podcasters together and making sure that people learn those skill sets. He had about 20 or 30 people brought together. 2015 is actually when you started to see the growth of the company with 100 people. 2016 was about 150 people. It was also the year that we created the PodFest Messengers documentary, talking about why podcasting is so important, why it's a great medium for people to communicate with, why it's a growing industry. And you can definitely check it out on either Amazon or YouTube. And then 2017, we finally crossed the 200-person mark. And then this is our founder, Chris, just showing his appreciation for 1 million cups and how much he's enjoyed, how much it's helped him over the years. And that sense of community that 1 million cups, we definitely want to bring to PodFest Expo as well, to making sure everyone enjoys the experience and supports each other. And then 2018, we hit over 500 people. 2019 was 1,000. 2020 was almost 2,000. And then what happened, and we had to switch to virtual, and that's when we decided to bring the world together to break that Guinness World Record in August 2020, and have continued to strive as an events organization since then. And so, yeah, this just gives you a quick little sense of our community, how much we enjoy spending time with each other. Even though we had 5,000 plus people registered and 300 plus speakers, We make sure everyone's having a great time, everyone's happy, everyone's learning great content. And the problem we're solving is that a lot of events, when you are a part of it, sometimes they just treat you like a number. Like, here's your badge, here's your lanyard, go sit down. Good luck enjoying the event. At PodFest, thanks to the inspiration of 1 Million Cups, everyone feels part of a community. It's more, how can we help you? How can we serve you? How can we make sure that you're getting what you need to get to where you want to go in life? And how can we give you as many resources as possible? So we really want to make sure we bring the best speakers to give the best content, have a supportive community where people feel heard, respected, understood, and make sure they get into where they want to go in their personal endeavors and in their professional endeavors and get the support that they need. And our speakers, they don't just talk about themselves the whole time. That's actually allowed for a minimum amount of time, just like 1 Million Cups. And so as you can see here, an example of Hala, we had over 150 people tuning in on this call, and she talked about actual tangible ways to help grow your podcast, how she uses media to get more subscribers and really leverage each other all the time, and really make sure that the speakers, they're not just saying, okay, here's my content, bye, that the speakers feel part of the community too. And the speakers really interact with audience members rather than trying to think that they're quote unquote on a bigger hierarchy, where really it's more collaborative community where everyone is helping each other versus the whole hierarchy system that sometimes happens in events. And here's some proof that our solution has been working so far. Some excitement from one of our audience members. He runs a organization called Comic Crusaders, and how much he loves the people involved, how excited he is, how much he appreciates us. And here's a quick example about how when people actually have been taking the advice that they learned at our events and they implement it immediately, they start to see results. And Kristen here, she got one sponsor and had 2 more pending just from one presentation, just to kind of show how important it is that our content is delivered properly to make sure people are able to implement it and learn from it as well. So our next virtual and hybrid event is actually happening November 4th to 5th at the Amalie Arena, where the hockey team plays, and we have a virtual pre-event before that. So we're definitely excited to be hosting the event in the hockey arena. And today I asked for help in how we can continue to raise awareness of PodFest. One of the biggest compliments, insults we get is, why didn't I hear about this earlier? And also, if you can help by letting us know who are some amazing people who would be great speakers and able to share amazing content with audience members, either in podcasting or video branding. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And with that said, I'm at the time, so thank you for hosting today.
So Andrew, who do you, well, I'm sure you've done the data analysis on the people attending. Who is the primary or the average person who attends?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'd say people who, so I'd say someone who has a full-time job, but they have a podcast and they want to eventually grow their podcast into their full-time occupation, essentially. So that's essentially the demographic of people. And I mean, we do range though anywhere from people who haven't started a podcast, who just started a podcast, or people who've been doing podcasts for years. So our event does cater to those whole audiences. But I'd say most people who come, they've been podcasting for a little bit, but they want to figure out how to ramp up the monetization piece or the audience growth piece, and that they come to our events for extra support.
Since you do have different levels of people who attend, do you have different levels of sessions, where some for beginners, some intermediate? Because one of the frustrations I have when you go take certain classes, especially things that are computer related or technology related, you get all kinds of people in one class, where the people who really know a lot are bored to death. But then again, if you ramp it up, the people who are new to it get lost. Mm-hmm. So do you have those different levels?
Yes, we make that clear in our events. So we have we have different tracks and sections of our event. So one track is called 0 to Launch, and talks about either for people who don't have a podcast or who just started out, like what do they need to keep that momentum going and build and and keep that along other tracks and topics. We have our podcasting 201, monetization. So if you haven't even started at all, maybe the monetization could make sense to you down the line, but obviously it's probably more catered to someone who has had a podcast going. They don't know how to make money from it yet, so they'd attend that monetization track. So we make sure clearly to find that in our events.
So if I know nothing about it and I just want to get started, you can help me. But if I'm a pro at it, you can help me be better.
Correct.
I
Yes.
like that, because like I said, one of the worst things you can do is put all kinds of people in one thing, assuming that, you know, you're going to cover it all. And that normally doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So Andrew, what are you doing to actually find speakers?
At the moment, we use our current community. We have about 5,000 people in our Facebook group. We have an email list about 10,000 people. So when we do call for speakers, we usually put them out in those email lists and Facebook group, and then ask people to share the word. I mean, yeah, for our PodFest Global, it's pretty crazy. We see 500 plus speaking applications sometimes. And because we haven't done in-person events in a while, yeah, that number was a little bit smaller this time around, but you know, people are always excited to speak. And that's the other thing I like about our events as well, is that, you know, you don't need 10,000 followers on Instagram to be a speaker at our event. If you have a topic that you believe is important and you could show expertise on it, then we'll definitely give you an opportunity. And, you know, one example of that is, you know, one of our speakers for PodFest Global, he literally gave a presentation on how he makes 5 figures a month just selling wreaths, like the most obscure niche thing, but it's a topic that people probably want to learn about, so they can apply that niche knowledge to other areas that they want to provide value in as well.
So how much for tickets to these things?
Yes, so at the moment, we're doing $500 for a basic pass, and we're doing $600 for the Inner Circle pass. You get access to parties. Both tickets come with, let me see here, food, because we're hosting at the Amelie Arena. Trying to exit, there we go. And we also have virtual options available. So people who want to turn in virtually, the tickets are obviously cheaper. And then just give them a chance to look at recordings. And then we're also handing out promo codes a lot to people in our community. So we give discounts to our Facebook group and our email list, and 1 million cups. We're handing out 50% off codes as well. So working on spreading the word there too. But yeah, prices range anywhere from $150 to $600, depending on if you're attending virtual or in person.
And you also have vendors there who are, they have various products that can help me, or technologies and that kind of thing.
Yes.
That are there.
Yeah.
What
So
kind of vendors do you get?
so we get sponsored. So that's actually where a big portion of revenue comes in for our events to even make them a reality, is sponsors and vendors. So we get microphone sponsors, people who provide you know, recording equipment. You know, we also have a sponsor called Pod Pages. They help people build like a really nice website in like 10 minutes or less associated with their podcast. We have, you know, sometimes like Squadcast as a sponsor. They're like a recording platform that helps make sure you look and sound great when you're doing your interviews as well. So the sponsors do range anywhere from, yeah, people to help with marketing or technology, or just yeah, a new course that someone's launching. Or sometimes we get sponsored by someone who wants to teach people how to write a book, because they know people who come to our events, they're still entrepreneurial and might want to start a book one day. So it really does range, and that is actually where majority of our income comes from, to help make our events cheap as they are and make them a reality, is the sponsors.
So Andrew, Audra would like to know, have you done any marketing on Snapchat?
No, actually, that's interesting you bring that up, Audra. I'd be happy to talk more if you have any expertise on that. Currently, we just do Facebook ads and, yeah, promotions through some of our promotional partners and email lists and Facebook group itself. but nothing on Snapchat. So happy to connect more offline about that or hear more and see what you know.
I will comment that I do not know that much. I just know that in speaking with everybody that I know in advertising and just kind of surveying the younger crowd, it seems like they're not on Facebook and they're not reading the newspaper. And so they're finding even lawyers and all kinds of other people are advertising through Snapchat. And I think that that is a new avenue to hit a lot more younger crowd. And I've heard various different businesses that I would not have actually assumed were on Snapchat advertising, but they are. So it seems like it would be a very good lead. I know through our small business center, we have different people that will do some presentations on different new marketing ideas. I know that we do have a marketing program here. You could probably talk with Sharon Seaford. Maybe you could get students in that class to help maybe design something or talk about it. That could be an avenue to get some advice. But I know the speakers at a lot of universities will come and do presentations and things like that in all different areas, finance, accounting, marketing, different things like that.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Definitely look into that. That is an interesting concept of Snapchat advertising, because yeah, sometimes Facebook ads doesn't always drive the right audience. So that's a good point, is looking into that. Because yeah, I mean, I will say we don't see too many millennials or Gen Zers at our events. But yeah, maybe the Snapchat will be able to convince the people who are on the edge about coming over. Yeah.
Hey, Andrew, you know, one of the key points about businesses like your business is all about one word, and that's networking, as well as you know. You were bringing up vendors. Are you currently using or networking with vendors for promoting your events, and how successful has that been?
Yes. So yeah, fortunately, Chris, he spent the last few years really doing a good job building relationships and building connections with people. And one of the things that help with getting vendors is our quote unquote competition is a company organization called Podcast Movement. And we attend their events and network with the vendors there because we know they're willing to sponsor regardless. And so we have various relationships with the hosting companies like Libsyn, Buzzsprout, Podbean. And so we definitely, so yeah, in the podcasting world, the hosting companies are basically who actually puts your podcast on like Apple and Spotify and things like that. So fortunately, we do have promotional relationships so far, but I know there's always up and coming hosting companies, and our relationships can always be improved and figure out how to best serve each other. So yeah, I'd say we currently have a decent relationship with a lot of them, but of course they can always be improved, and I'm sure we can always bring on more relationships.
Yeah. And I would say that is definitely something that you need to have in your wheelhouse. And it sounds like that you guys are already on top of it.
Yeah.
To follow on with what Jesse was just saying about networking, one of the other suggestions I would have is, in a lot of states this is the case, especially in the state of North Carolina, at the community colleges, we have small business centers, and it would be great if you would tune in with them so they know that you're a resource that they could tell their clients about, because they do free counseling for their clients or for businesses in the community. So they, if they don't know you, they can't recommend you, to help that new client out. It was interesting because you were talking about the person who's doing wreaths, being that I follow this guy on Facebook who started his whole business, his floral business, but he started out doing Facebook Live and podcasts and stuff like that. And he is growing leaps and bounds because people now know about him. They follow him, they listen, and they watch his podcast because you can, learn from him. But if he hadn't gotten started with, that's what I'm saying. You need to go out also to where the new entrepreneurs are, so that they can really benefit from you helping them getting started. Also tune in with colleges and universities that have entrepreneurship programs, just so that, when you got somebody like Lori is one of our entrepreneurial instructors, and not only does she teach entrepreneurship, but she's an entrepreneur herself. So when her students are talking to her, whether it's in class or on the side, and they say, I want to do this and this and this, she now has your knowledge of you that she can say, hey, here's an event that you could attend that would help you more. So those are two things I would do through the educational system that can really help you.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, looking more into those complementary resources, because then I'm sure, Lori and others and yourself has a lot of information to offer all the time. So checking that out more often, definitely.
And I would be delighted to provide that for you, Andrew, as well. And just to mention that we do have a small business center here on campus with some fantastic resources that I would definitely explore. But we also have other community colleges in the area as well, and universities. So we have Mr. Hill joining us. He's actually the director of the Small Business Center. So definitely reach out to him.
Yeah.
Audra also mentions that UNC Pembroke has the Thomas Family Center for Entrepreneurship and Incubator, and she provided the web address that may be of interest to you as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So where do you see this going? I mean, you're doing the events now, you're growing each year. Where do you see your business going?
Yeah, I mean, our goal really is to be, I don't know if you've heard of the National Broadcasting Society or association, one of those. I think it's society. I mean, they see 50 to 60,000 people at their in-person events each year. And so that really would be amazing to be able to bring 50,000 people together at a time and having everyone get a great sense of the community and hear from top content speakers who treat the attendees well and want to be helpful and serve rather than just going up on stage trying to sell something all the time. So that really would be the dream, is being able to hit that milestone, that benchmark of 50,000 people. And we also love to see PodFest events around the world, hosting like a PodFest Paris, a PodFest Hong Kong, or a PodFest, what's the capital of Egypt? Cairo. So that's definitely the vision for the company, is making sure that, it's an international organization where everyone's benefiting, learning from each other, different chapters of PodFest. And then it's growing so big that, people keep coming back and keep referring to others.
Hey, Andrew, with that said, following up on what Cindy just said, what do you see as your major challenges to growing, and how are you guys going to entertain those? Do you have a strategy to address those challenges?
Yeah, it's definitely awareness. I mean, it's definitely unfortunate whenever we hear like, oh, we wish we had heard about this event company or these events sooner. So it's definitely figuring out, what other partnerships do we need to continue to create to spread more awareness? How can we give more people an opportunity to experience the events in some capacity? How can we make sure to get even more and bigger sponsors who see the vision and the mission of the company and how we serve our audience? So that's definitely the biggest challenge is constant awareness. And we keep trying to do it one day at a time by building relationships, talking to people. We do Facebook ads sometimes, and just doing our best to attend networking meetings and just let people know of the event.
Yeah, missed opportunities could be learning also, as you're crafting your secret sauce per se. So there's lessons to be learned in every one of them, and I offer that to you.
No, 100%.
So COVID has really changed the landscape of most businesses. And I heard you mention that you guys went virtual and you're back hybrid. I mean, what have you guys done? I mean, what challenges have you seen to your business because of COVID? And would you say that anything positive has come from that?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, this will actually be our first hybrid event coming up in November. And yeah, we're essentially doing virtual for 3/4 of the time and then only in person for the last 2 days. And so yeah, the challenges with COVID, people still want that in-person interaction. I mean, they want to feel that energy. They want to be able to give you a handshake or a hug or see you in the room. And I know people are definitely feeling a little Zoom burnout at this point. And so just trying to compete, quote unquote, with other virtual events and virtual Zoom meetings that are happening all the time could definitely be tricky. The positive piece about running virtual events is the expenses are definitely a lot lower. You don't have to pay for a venue, you don't have to pay for audio and visual. You can really just to pay for that basic technology and hosting it on a platform. We use a platform called Hoova. So it's kind of like Facebook groups on steroids in a way. So I'd say, yeah, the benefits are, lower expenses and then maybe easier for people to tune in around the world. And then the negatives is that people still want that in-person interaction and want to feel the energy in the room, the excitement, and you can't really provide that with virtual events. Yeah.
So how do you set yourself apart? What makes you different than other events out there?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely we hear feedback all the time about our quote unquote competition podcast movement. We want to make sure that when people come to our events, that they have been telling us that they do feel like they're part of a community. They do feel heard. They do feel like they're actually taken care of and getting content that they need. That the speakers treat them well. The speakers get treated well. The sponsors get treated well too. So we really go above and beyond in customer service and continue to make sure our content is amazing, that our speakers know what to do, how to do it, that our audience, as you mentioned earlier, gets what they need no matter what level of skill set that they have or where they are in their own journeys. So that's definitely ways we go above and beyond. And we're also active in our own community. Chris and I are commenting on Facebook posts and celebrating people all the time. So I'd say, yeah, it just goes back to the power of the community and making sure people get the best content from the best speakers out there. And we also recently started a newsletter as well. So we're definitely excited about that. I'm not sure if any other podcasting companies have a newsletter going. But it's really cool. We give people here are job opportunities that are available. Here are members in our community that have wins to celebrate, and things like that. So yeah, if anyone tuning in today wants to check out our newsletter, hear everything happening in the podcasting world, I'll put that link in the chat. If everyone is here, it looks like everyone's on their jog or probably in their morning robe sipping coffee. So I know not many people have their cameras on, but if you're tuning in, love for you to join our messenger and hear more things going on in the podcasting community.
So at your events, do you have any kind of event or competitions or anything of that nature where maybe the people who are competing can win some of these prizes from vendors that support you, like you were talking about the microphone and that kind of thing, or an hour session where they assist them with da 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 da? But anything like that, any kind of events, because that would be kind of enticing if I'm either a new person or even an advanced person, that if I have an opportunity to win that nice microphone or that hour consulting or something of that nature.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'll pull up the Hoova platform a little bit. They make it really easy to gamify where people get rewarded for interaction. So we always have prizes to give to incentivize people to interact with the community, to make postings, to host virtual meetups, to visit our sponsors and vendors. So I'll pull that up really quick. Yeah, while I'm doing that, basically people can get rewarded for posting photos, for visiting sponsor booths, for making sure that they're attending sessions in general. We have a leaderboard going where if you're helping other people, you get points for commenting and helping and serve others. And yeah, we always make sure to have prizes too, so that yeah, it makes it really easy to want to interact and say hi to people and do that. So I'll pull that up just a moment here. So here,
It also tends to keep the energy of the conference up. You know, people are excited, they stay interested, they stay in tune instead of sitting out in a lobby talking to someone. I'm actually at the breakout sessions because, you know, you've kind of incentivized. Everybody loves free stuff. I mean, that's just the way it is.
oh yeah.
And it doesn't have to be something like you put in your hand, oh, that's good. It could be, like I said, like an hour consulting with this kind of vendor or that, because you mentioned about people who help you to improve how you look and sound and all. So that's really good. That's a good incentive for people to come to your events.
Yeah, no, people definitely love the prizes. That's for sure. So as you can see here, we have our app provides a ranking system based on how helpful people are to other people in the community and how much they are commenting on things and things like that. And then we also have, where is it? Oh, exhibitors booth. So they can go put in their names for raffles for prizes to either win a free microphone or get coaching. Just kind of depends on what our vendors are offering at the time, and making sure that that they're getting what they need. So it really depends on the vendors that we have for the prizes we offer, but we also offer prizes ourselves just to keep encouraging people to interact. And what's cool too, so another perk of Whova is there's a section where people can actually create their own meetups and virtual meetings, so that people can just interact with each other during the event virtually. So people met for coffee each morning or each evening. People talked about various readers wanting to meet up and say hi. So that's cool too about the community, is that people want to meet each other within our events, and we provide that space where people can constantly network and serve each other. And our Facebook group is very active as well and very, very helpful. So we're definitely proud of that. And I'll put that link in the chat in case there's any Facebook fans here who wants to say hello and get some advice. So definitely say hello that way. And yeah, it's making sure that everyone feels heard and helped.
So I'm just curious, what are some of the most unusual podcast people you've seen in terms of content they offer?
I mean, that's definitely subjective. But that's what's crazy about the podcasting world, is that there really is a topic for everything. I mean, one of our speakers who applied to recent events, they quit their full-time jobs to be full-time podcasters, and they just talk about dinosaurs. And so who would have thought you could make a full-time income off dinosaurs, but they do. I mean, people do audio drama where they just create or read kind of fictional stories. People listen to podcasts just to help them fall asleep at night. What are some strange ones that stand out to me? Let's see here. I think, just going through so many podcasts all the time. That's the most recent one, just that blew my mind, like how you can make a full-time income just talking about dinosaurs. But if you do it consistently and long enough, they were able to do that because of Patreon. For those who don't know, it's a subscription service, or basically you subscribe and pay $5 or $10 a month to hear people's content. So they did that over a few years of growing their Patreon audience and their audience funded. And so they're able to make their dream a reality of being a full-time podcaster talking about dinosaurs.
I actually visited the website and was able to see some of your past speakers. Some of them were very, very fascinating. So I enjoyed looking at your website.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, an amazing graphic designer. He's been with us for a while, and he's a father of a child, and so he definitely stays busy in many ways, and he loves helping us out too. Yeah, so thank you for the compliments.
It is interesting how things have changed over time, because somebody's kid told me a while back that when you asked him what do they want to do as a career, and he said he wanted to have people watch him play games. And I'm just like, there's actually a career for that. And there are. So I'm not surprised that somebody is willing to listen to somebody talk about dinosaurs, because I never would have thought.
Yeah, no, what's blowing my mind is the fact that they're making stadiums just as big as football stadiums, just dedicated to people watching other people play video games. Like, like I think like Dallas, Texas. I mean, they literally have a stadium with that can fit 40,000 people, where you just watch other people play video games on a big screen. And so that's definitely a growing audience niche too. Is that most of them do it through Twitch. So learning about the Twitch world. So that part's interesting as well. But yeah, that's the beauty of PodFest too, is that we always make sure to have cutting edge speakers who will give you the newest up to date things, and how to monetize, and how to make sure your technology is working the best it can be for the most recent updates that are happening. And yeah, it's definitely a keep using the word, but it's just a I guess collaborative way to say, hey, I was from this last week, you should know this too, kind of thing. And so everyone stays most up to date. Yeah.
So I have somewhat of a delicate question. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Is there a minimum age that somebody has to be to attend your event? And I ask because there are a lot of opportunities, like Audra pointed out, we have to go after the young crowd because they're really into podcasts and stuff like that. But I'm also thinking there are probably some adults with some questionable content as far as related, as far as children go. So how do you handle that in an event, especially since you're growing in size? How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually have a PodFest Global. And we have so many different topics and tracks. So we have like a mental health track. We have a monetization track, zero to launch track. We had a video track, and one of our tracks is actually sex communicators. And essentially, it's people who are in the podcasting space who talk about sex, but they taught us, what it's like being in that space, and what that medium has been like for them to, speak about a taboo topic kind of thing. And so, I mean, we do have kids that quote unquote attend our events. They're usually the kids of podcasters who are already attending podfesting events, and they're happen to bring their kids. So yeah, it's not like we talk about, anything that's inappropriate, but usually when the kids attend our event, they're monitored by the parents. So of course, they'll be able to monitor whether or not what content they see and what content they don't. But yeah, no, we don't get too many kids. Usually it's just the kids of the attendees who are bringing their kids, essentially, not like some random kid on the internet going, oh, I'm gonna attend PodFest kind of thing. I mean, yeah, our policy though is we welcome people as long as you're not being hateful towards anyone, and you're not going out of your way to be inappropriate about anything. And we ask that you don't talk about politics until maybe we do a politics con or something, and the con is of course short for conference. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, as far as the kids go, they usually get brought by the parents, and the parents usually know what kind of content they're showing their kids. Yeah.
Well, in that same vein, though, if you're talking about, you've mentioned several times you like to go global. You've got some countries which are much more restrictive in terms of what you can discuss, whether, like you said, is something political versus something of a sexual nature versus, human rights, the gambit. This world is full of people that are very open and people who are very closed. So how are you going to expand in the global market, knowing that some areas of the world are a lot more restrictive?
Yeah, I guess maybe we focus on other global markets first that aren't as restrictive. So yeah, I know China is getting more and more strict and cracking down on everything all the time. Trying to think what other, I think Russia, censors a lot of things. So probably focusing on more countries and areas that are more open to our kind of events and content. So I know Colombia is getting to be more popular for the podcasting community. Brazil is getting more popular. India is actually exploding in its podcasting space. Various countries in Africa. So definitely taking more time to promote in those places first versus, trying to put our hand against a brick wall because we know that they're not going to like some of the content that's said at our events. But people always have a choice what kind of content they want to hear based on because we do provide the topic titles and descriptions as well. So people can always see ahead of time what they're going to be learning about.
And not only that, but you're going to have some areas, if you try to venture into those areas, who simply won't let you have certain types of sessions, just because, there are restrictions on what you can say or do in some countries.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's going to be a challenge because the world changes all the time.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah. We're doing our best. I know that it's definitely scary. There seems to be more and more censorship more often, but we're doing our best to still provide that place where people can feel heard. If their topic makes sense, can serve others, then I'm sure we can find them an opportunity. If it makes sense and their intentions are genuine and helpful, then we can make it happen.
Dean Burns, Andrew is a true entrepreneur, so he's used to hearing the word no. That just means he's going to try harder and try another door.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, good answer, Lori. Yes.
So do we have any other questions for Andrew this morning? If not, Andrew, I'm going to take the last question. What can this community do for you? How can we help?
Yeah, no, we definitely would appreciate if you could help spread the word about our podcasting and video branding events. And we'd love if you could join our Facebook group and get a feel for the power of the community, how helpful we are to each other. And of course, if you want to subscribe to our free email messenger, that'd be helpful too. But yeah, anything that can help spread the word about our events. We just want to get more people out there, and we want less and less people to say, we wish we had heard about PodFest earlier. So that'd be appreciated. And of course, if you have more questions about anything or any suggestions or ideas, I know Audra was a keyboard machine this meeting, just typing away. But yeah, I'll type in my email in the chat too if anyone wants to email me with any other suggestions or how we can help support each other. Happy to collaborate in some capacity. That'd be most helpful, is joining our Facebook group, subscribing to our email list, and email me to say hello.
Well, thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. We would love for you to come back in the future and let us know how things are going, Andrew. We'd love to invite you back to be part of our audience as well. Again, I thank everybody for coming today, supporting small business and entrepreneurship in our community. I hope you guys have a fantastic Wednesday. We have a great speaker next week. We have OPA that is going to come and talk a little bit about their business next week. So I hope to see each of you next week as well. You guys go out and have a great day. See you next week. Thank you, Andrew. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, Andrew.